Well, let's see. Let's- All right. So we'll talk about the overview of everything, and then we'll go through some fine details as we back up. Also, I want to do the go-to-meeting with the what is that called? The PowerPoint presentation we have. So you guys should have a copy of it, a generic one, and then we just got to put your information on the last page. But this way you can at least flip through it and get comfortable with it. It's perfect because if you know what you're talking about and you use it in a listing presentation, it's super easy. If you don't know, you can just simply read off the screen. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So, all right. So let's talk about listing appointments. Number one, you need to know who the seller is. Right, Diana? Remember that one? Back in the day when we were at RE/MAX, we had a listing contract with somebody that didn't own the house. The wife signed it, and we didn't know it was only in the husband's name. All right, you want to know the why. Obviously, why is important because that's their motivation, right? Also, where are they going? Right? People are going to stay local. That obviously gets you an opportunity to get the buy side. I have agents ask me all the time, can I discount the sale side if I get them on the buy side? Absolutely. But I will tell you, write it in the contract. Because it happened to me where I had a handshake deal. I got the listing at 2.5%, and they were going to buy through me, and they went to a new build without me, and I still did the listing at 2.5%. I was pretty bummed. That was my 2-bedroom, 2-bath that backed to McDowell Road. So I worked really hard for. Anyways, so always find out where they're going, because the other thing is we have a nationwide referral program. Okay. So, but he has used this quite a few times. All you have to do is give me the person's information, where they're going, the price range, and their phone number. And what I do is I meet with the referral, online, I download the information, I ask for 3 agents to call, and those agents will call me. I'll vet them a little bit, and then I'll turn them over to you, the agent. They never call the client directly. So you get to vet the agent you want, and then hand them over to your agent, your client. The cool thing is, you're guaranteed 25%. The agent on the other side, you don't have to negotiate, you don't talk about it. It's already known. When they call, they know right away they're giving up 25%. That's the deal. And they can do it anywhere in the United States. The other cool thing is they track it. We just had one on Monday go into escrow in Texas. So now we know we're in escrow, 30 days out, we kind of have anticipation that's going to close. We know what the sales price is. So it's a really good program. This goes for anybody. Even if you're not selling these people's house, if you have a cousin, brother, neighbor that's moving somewhere, get their information. Ask them, would you like me to vet agents for you through our referral program? I can get you a really good agent in that area. And then you talk to 2 or 3 of them and you can kind of get an idea of which ones you think you want to work with. Right? You know your client, you talk to the agent, kind of get a feel for who would fit. So use it. Bahia uses it and it's working out really, really well. But like I said, I need to know name, phone number, sales price, and city. The more specific the city, the better. Because that's the first thing they'll do is look at agents in that city that are part of the program. And the program costs $1,500 a year, but I pay for it. So it doesn't cost you guys anything. So you might as well use it. And then your normal split comes off the 25%. So there's no extra fees or anything like that. Okay? Here's the big thing. When is the most important question? Why is when so important? Good. Biggest class we've had and the quietest class at the same time. So always keep in mind, this is like a little teeter-totter, right? Remember that? Price and time are always inversely related. So if they're in a hurry, you don't have the waiting game to play. Like with a lot of my listings, I like to try and push my list price a little higher if I can. But, and if they need to be out, if they need to be in a contract in 30 days, you don't have that time. Because what you don't want to do is go, okay, let's list high, and then every 10 days we'll keep lowering it. Because then what ends up happening is somebody watches it and goes, we'll just wait till they hit rock bottom. Or they know that you're desperate to sell, and the offers even get lower. So always have that discussion. And remember, when comes into play? Right? So when is based upon when they go into escrow or when they close. I mean, those are things you need to know. Because if they say, hey, I need to sell and be out of this house in 60 days, but I want to redo all my flooring and I want to redo all my counters. Well, there's a month, there's 3 weeks right there you're going to lose. And don't ever, 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 ever do two things. Put it on the market before it's ready, or do rebates. Because buyers don't want to deal with that. They don't want to buy their house. You see it a lot in MLS. People go, oh, full price offer, we'll give you $3,000 towards carpet allowance. Oh. Don't do it. Because they come in, they go, I don't know how much carpet is. Is $3,000 going to do all this carpet? Is it not? Then it becomes another negotiating piece. It's a mess. Do it up front. Put the house on the market when it's 100% ready. And don't screw around with allowances and crap like that. And here's the biggest problem you run into. If you do improvements along the way, the people that come in the first 10 days aren't coming back. Right? They go, oh, we kind of like the counters were ugly and the flooring was bad. Oh, it's all brand new now. They're not coming back. Odds are they're buyers that already found something. And you need to explain that to your sellers, because I get sellers all the time like, well, let's put it on the market. If it doesn't sell, then I'll do the flooring. No, either we decide to do the flooring or we don't. You can't do it halfway. I can't take it back off the market. It doesn't work that way. And if once people see it, they're not coming back. People are too annoyed. They don't want to come back and go, oh, I really didn't like the house that much anyways. And it's because they didn't like the flooring or they didn't like the counters, but in their mind they didn't like it. So to them, it's not. There's nothing you can do to change their mind and say, oh, now you need to come back and look, because they don't care. So you got to figure that in your time frame, right? Your list time, your close of escrow time. If you're a $400,000 listing, you're not getting a cash offer. You're just not. So your close is going to be 40 days. So you have to help them with their time frame. If they have to close right away and they want to do improvements, they probably don't. One has to go. Either we do improvements and we list later, or we don't do the improvements and we list lower. If they're in a hurry, that's more their problem than your problem. But you have to set the right expectations. You don't want to say, oh yeah, let's list at the top of the market and we'll be under contract in 10 days. Maybe, but you hate to make that that's a tough promise that you have to back up on and say, well, I kind of screwed that up. Right? Does that make sense? So those are like a couple of things right off the bat you want to know. This is the most important question. Because, and I tell them, price and time are inversely related. Because if I'm on the market at a low price, it'll go fast. If I'm on the market at a high price, it's going to take a little while. So I let them decide what's best in your mind. Oh, we can wait 60 days. Okay, well, then let's start a little high and see what happens. Okay? All right. So basically, this is the best opportunity to talk about what you're going to do. Here's what we bring to the table. First thing I do is I bring in my interior designer. Now again, this is up to you. It's your business. You guys do it how you want. What I do is I bring Bunny in first. I spend 90 minutes. I get my list of 6 things, and then I share that with the client. Then we go through the list and start eliminating things we're not going to do and start executing things we are going to do. Okay? So if I had a flow chart, okay, I would do the interior design. Then it goes into project management mode, right? Because you got to coordinate vendors, you got to get a list of things done, organize bids. When you're doing this, work with Annalisa. She's the best in the office. She works with all the vendors. She has the most recent list. And guess what? She'll do all the work for you. She will. My new listing in Sage in Scottsdale, I was there twice. Once when I got the listing appointment, once when they were halfway done with construction, and they did everything. Between her and Lisa, they did it all. And it turned out fantastic. You saw Sage, what'd you think?
Good.
Small.
I really liked it. Yeah, it's a small feeling, but the backyard is a little bit of a jungle.
Yeah, you should have seen it before we cleaned it up.
No. But no, my client really liked it.
Yeah, we
It just
repainted it,
didn't have-
staged it.
2 stories or a pool.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Why did they go look at?
It's under 350 in Scottsdale?
Yeah, no. It's a cute little house. It definitely is. But before we got it, he had lived there for 15 years and just like,
Do you have before and afters?
we do. You have befores of Sage, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll have before and afters. But use on Elisa. She's awesome. She's very diligent. And then all you have to do is touch base with her every couple days, and everything's getting done. So what happens is, the only thing you need to understand is, we need to know who's paying the bill. Are we paying for it? Is the owner paying for it? If it's a flip our home deal, obviously we're paying for it. If it's not, then the owner needs to pay for it. Okay, so you need to coordinate that with the owner. And what will happen is, as things come in, invoices go to Michelle, and then Michelle will work with the owner to get paid. So it makes your life really easy. And like I said, I usually touch base, Monday mornings we meet, so I find out on Monday what's going on, and then usually Thursday, Friday, I just follow up. Where are we at with this bid? Did we get this? Did we get that? That way if the owner does call me, I'm kind of in the know of what's going on. But I will tell you what, Sage was a month project, and I did hardly anything, and it turned out fabulous. It probably turned out better without my involvement than with my involvement. Because we have agents that love to get involved, right? Guess what that does? It slows the process way down, and it becomes a big, giant screw up. Because the agent's like, oh, well, I want to do this. And Lisa's like, well, I plan on putting this color couch with this throw rug and this artwork, and now you're undermining all that by wanting to do this change. So when these two work together, Annalisa and Lisa, they just run the show with the owner, and things are just so much smoother. Trust me, as an agent, stay out of the way. Do what you do best. Be an agent, right? Because you can look at, like, I'm the boss, right? This is my team. They all answer to me. And if you go to somebody else, so you have an agent who's an interior designer, is a stager, is a photographer, I mean, why? For the same price, you're getting a team of 4 or 5 people versus a team of 1, and the guy's gonna be out there with his iPad taking photos. Why would you do that if you're paying us the same? It's a no-brainer. And people like that team concept because they feel like there's more people that can help, there's more people available, that if I get another listing in Goodyear, I can't be like, oh, sorry, Mr. Scottsdale, I gotta go do this job, and now you're on hold. Everything keeps moving because it's a team effort.
I made that mistake with my first listing.
No.
I wanted her to think I was working hard for
Yeah.
her, so I wanted to be in her face all the time. And I wish I'd stayed out of the whole thing because she was a jerk at the end. And now she's your client.
If you only knew, Jan, if you only knew. You are a lot more correct than you think. Okay, so that's the huge selling point, right? So then what happens is when this is done, we stage, and then we do photos. Now, Jan has interior design experience, so it makes sense that Jan wanted to be involved. So it's good for Jan to be in more of a supervisor role than a doing role. Does that make sense? Because when you're doing it, there's no value in that. Right? Because they don't appreciate when you're doing the work. But when you bring your team in and you're like the boss, there's a much more appreciation for that. Does that make sense?
Especially Bunny.
Yeah.
If she comes in and puts it on the line, and then I wouldn't have had that problem if she would have said, you have to do
Right.
this and this.
Right.
Instead, she was,
Yeah, and you were in a bad spot because you were really good friends with her parents, and you were in a tight spot. You tried to do your very best, and you
and
did.
she's stubborn.
Yeah, she's stubborn. No kidding. All right. So this is kind of the breakdown. Interior design. The good thing about Bunny, if the house smells like dogs, she'll come in and she'll go, your house smells like dogs. And I don't have to say it, right? I'm like, it's on the list. I don't know what to tell you. I do that all the time. Like, I don't know. It's on the list, so it must be true, right? So it's a good, and she's got a good way about it. She comes right out with people and says, listen, this is my plan. I'm just going to tell you what you need to do to sell your house. That's it. That's all I'm here for. Your agent's going to work with you on comps and sales price. I just want to get this looking as good as I can to get it ready to sell, right? If they're occupied, be careful. Don't promise staging if it's occupied. Number one, if they have better furniture than us, like you're listing on Honeysuckle, we're not going to stage that. Their furniture is far better than the stuff we have. Second, if they have pets or kids, we don't necessarily want to stage it either. So kind of play that in your mind, you know, what your game plan is, okay? And then spend the money on the professional photos, because here's the thing. 89% of everybody that goes online wants to see photos. And if you have crap photos and your house ain't selling because it's $100,000 overpriced, guess what the owner's gonna blame? The photos. Jacqueline shoots your photos. I've never had a complaint. I've had nothing but great response from Jacqueline's photos. They're a little on the artsy side, and sometimes you're like, I don't understand what that picture was taken for, but okay. So I've never had a problem, I've never had a complaint. I like looking through the MLS and looking at agents that you can see the reflection of the flash in the mirror. It's like, dude, just...
You can see the agent.
Yeah.
In
Or
the
you see the
mirror?
flash, like he's out of this corner, but you still see the flash in the
Yeah.
mirror. It's like, spend the $200. Good golly.
Bottles of laundry detergent on top
Yeah.
of the washing machine.
Yeah.
Garbage cans in front of the house.
Or the
Right.
TV on.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another one, like, why is the TV on?
The
People
family
sleeping in
dog.
bed. That's creepy. It's so creepy.
So,
It's online,
For like
that's
$17,000 homes too.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Only if they
that
put
drives me
clothes in
crazy.
the laundry room and
How-
have Pictures taken.
How as an agent do you show your client those photos like, hey, look at all the work I'm doing for you? It's like, seriously? So spend the money. We do have a drone guy that'll do drones for $125. He's gonna do Diana's for free, so we can see what they look like. But we'll see. He's gonna do honeysuckle when you're ready. So Diana's a new listing coming up. Which, if you guys ever have listings and you're unsure about it, I love going to listing appointments. Problem is, and Diana will tell you, I'm gonna do 90% of the talking. So you have to game plan for me on what you want me to do if you're bringing me. So, but the house is nice. It's big. It's got a decent floor plan, and then you go out in the backyard. It's one of the nicest backyards I've ever seen. It's gorgeous. So, and it's right up against the mountain. So we're like, okay, this would be a great one. This guy's been bugging me for business, and I'm like, all right, I'll give you a chance. So, and if you're in the East Valley, Ramon has a guy that does stuff in the East Valley because Jacqueline's not gonna drive that far. And his stuff's pretty good. It's pretty good. So he's a little bit around. He's about the same price, but his photos are very straight on, 90 degrees. There's no like art, no 45s, no perspective views. It's all just kind of like, here's the room, there's the photo. Here's the room, here's the photo. They turn out nice. But I like Jacqueline because she like, every once in a while she'll mix in that photo where you're like, oh, that could be like in a brochure, right? Okay, so that covers that. Anybody have any questions on this? So this is the big 3 selling points. Bring in your interior designer, bring in the stager, shoot photos, right? When you do that, here's the best part about this, is anytime somebody goes, well, you know, I met with a guy from Remax and he said he'd do the listing at 2%. Then I go, okay, I'll do 2%, but I'm not gonna do that. You know what they say? But I want that. Well, if you want that, you have to pay for that. I am willing to work with you. So 9 times out of 10, I still get a 3%. I get that back in. But if you know you're not gonna stage it anyways, that's a huge, you know, if you're like on the cusp of not getting it or getting it, you know you're not gonna stage it, you're like, hey, you know what? If I have to compete with everybody else, I could do half a point discount, take out the staging. People argue with me and say, I don't want to do the staging because I don't want to pay that extra 0.5% or percent. Let's say he wants a whole percent discount and he's going to take out staging. It's okay. First of all, the staging is going to add at least 5% to the sales price. So for 5% more, you don't want to pay me 1%. I said, let's do this differently. I will give you $1 and you give me 5, and we'll just keep doing that until I'm done. So everybody's going to talk about, oh, we put on Facebook, we put a sign in the ground, we put on. Everybody does that, right? Here is what we have that other brokerages don't. I have a guy in my office, his only job is to market your property. That's it. He's on Facebook, Craigslist, MLS, Zillow, Trulia. We have about 30, I think it farms out to about 30, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I can get you guys a list.
Realtor.com.
Yeah, so all the basics, but then we have like weird ones like Vroom, like sites I've never heard of.
Hot pads.
Hot pads. So I can get you the list. So you guys have that handy. But that's his main responsibility, is to list properties all day long, right? So he takes the photos, he uploads some pictures on Facebook, he plays with things, he does flyers, he does all that stuff. Nobody else has that. And if they have it, the agent's paying a fortune for it. So that is a huge advantage. Our new huge advantage we just realized we have we have an international reach. Our office, we speak 8 languages. Believe it or not. English, most of us. Spanish, a few of us. Diana speaks Croatian. I don't know how to spell it. Tina speaks Mandarin. We all know Nina speaks Russian. Plamina speaks Bulgarian. That's 6. Oh, Jade speaks Korean. And we also speak Canadian, but no, we have another one.
I can
Oh.
make people laugh pretty good in Farsi.
Really?
Seriously.
French?
Yeah, Jason Temple speaks French. And now and Nancy speaks Farsi.
Okay, I can make them laugh.
Okay.
I didn't say it.
So that's 9. This is in your presentation piece. And we're working on revamping that because there are specific international websites we can market to. Not that your buyers are going to be coming from here, but it's a reach that nobody else can offer. So yeah, I used to say we have 8, and I forgot the other one was French, and I was like, and Canadian. And they're like, all right, I guess that's 8. So that's part of our marketing, right? So everybody's going to talk about Facebook MLS, right? But we do everything. The other thing we do is we have Bert, who's doing that work for us every day. So think again as the team concept, right? So if you hire me versus this guy, he's a single guy who's going to do everything himself. And I promise you, if he has 2 listings, he isn't going to be able to spend as much time on your listing as you need. Because I have myself, I have Bunny, I have Lisa, I have Jacqueline, I have Bert, and then anybody could say, hey, I have Diane as my partner. I mean, there's a lot of resources that we have. Annalisa, our project manager, so Michelle, our finance manager. You have a team of people behind you, which nobody else really pushes that because they can't. When we were at Remax, we had, and you have a transaction coordinator, Nicole, so you have a team of 10 people that are helping you with your transaction. We were at Remax, we had Nikki, but she cost us like $16 an hour. And I was like, and they seem to always round up. It's like, that took 5 minutes, and it seemed like I still got billed for the whole hour. Remax billed you for copies, staples, it was ridiculous, I hated it. So we don't do that, we don't screw around. We're here to help you, we want to build your business. This is a marketing reach that not everybody has. So when you go to your listing presentation, here's one little trick. If you know they're interviewing other agents, go last. Right? There's 2 reasons why you want to go last. 1, nobody's going to present what you do. 2, they're already sick of interviewing people, and when you blow them away, they're just going to settle and sign with you. But you got to ask. You got to be like, you ready to go? Another trick I do is I'll talk to Bunny before my meeting, my presentation, so I know what her schedule is. So I could say, well, you want to sell, you want to get on the market, I got my interior designer here Thursday, but we got to sign today. And if you want to think about it, that's great, but then she could be 2 weeks out. That works almost every time. I actually had one where the client had an agent walking in the door as soon as I was done, and I had already signed them before she got there. I was like, we start Thursday, and I got the photographer here on Friday. They're like, okay, let's do it. They were moving to North Carolina, and they're like, okay, let's do it. And they just signed. I was like, sweet. I wanted to wait at the door until the other agent walked in the driveway, but I didn't. Poor thing. I'm sure they called and canceled. Okay. That's all listing. Okay, when you're attending your listing presentation, be early. I always snap a photo of the outside of the house and I instantly upload it to Facebook and Instagram, and I put a coming soon note on it. I'm like, hey, new listing, coming soon. I didn't say it's my listing. These people are obviously gonna sell, so it's gonna be a listing. right? So I'm not lying, I'm not, passing out false information. I just say, here is a new listing coming up, right? And I shoot a picture, and then so when I go in, I said, we get to talking, we talk about marketing. I'm like, oh yeah, I already put it on Facebook, and I have 5,000 followers on Facebook. You guys know my Facebook story, it's stupid, but 90% I think are in the Philippines. But anyways, so 5,000 people have already seen your listing. That's pretty impressive. People, and you guys know how Facebook works. If it comes on your wall, after 5 minutes, you could be 300 posts down and never see it. But when you have that in your conversation, it gets noticed. And you know who it works with most? Are millennials. Millennials don't care if you sold 20 houses. They care about what's your social media reach. When you go, hey, I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, they're like, oh, it's pretty impressive. So be early, snap that quick photo, Instagram, Facebook it really quick. That's what I always do. I don't know what you would say.
Dress for success.
So I was gonna say dress for success, but that's kind of cheesy.
Oh,
so.
yeah, iron your shirts.
Okay, Jan, thanks. When I have a listing presentation, my shirts are ironed. Thank you. Just not when I teach class, so on a Friday. Bring your laptop with you. I don't know if you'll be able to get internet access. If you can use your phone for a hotspot. You should have comps with you already. Always have comps and competition. Comps being comparable sales, competition being the other houses listed in the area currently. MLS is a great feature. You could go into MLS search, put in the old MLS number for that house, and then pull everything up within a mile. And then you can kind of sort through that and pull out the ones that aren't really competition, which ones are. Because this is more important than this. Right? The comps can say the house is worth $289. But at this very moment, there's no house under $350 on the market. So you might time it right and be able to be in the middle a little bit. We have a listing, and for some God unknown reason, I went under contract this week. The house down the street, the same price, 50 times nicer than ours. I don't know why they bought ours instead, but I'm not complaining. So, you need to know the competition. That's the biggest thing. Because guess what? Your clients are going to know. They're going to know, oh, the house down the street just went on the market for $315. And if you're like, oh yeah, I didn't know that. That doesn't sit really well. You need to know those things. So if I have a really good listing appointment and I know I'm getting a listing, sometimes I don't bring the docs out because I can get a sense that they need a little time, but that kind of thing. If you're going in blind, I would have them filled out and ready to go. Like on Honeysuckle, we were ready, but they're friends of yours. And the meeting went really well, so I was like, I didn't want to, and they were still, 8 weeks out? So I was like, so have that in mind. If it's a blind listing appointment, be ready. Because you never know. You might be feeling like you're 50-50, or you might feel like you have them. That's the time you can get them. Keep in mind, if you know you have time to do improvements and stuff like that, you need to put in the MLS somewhere that the MLS, or in the contract, that the MLS date will be the day the house goes on the market. Because the MLS is going to ask you the contract date. So you have to say the contract date will be the day it goes on the MLS, but you still have to be under contract today on the ER. Does that make sense? Because you can't do anything unless you're under contract with them on the ER. But in there you need to say that the contract date will be the day it goes on the MLS. Because if it takes you 2 weeks to do improvements, MLS is going to say, what's the contract date? You're going to put it up as 20 days ago, and the days on market, it's going to say CDOM are going to be 20 and 0. Does that make sense? Do you see why you got to do it that way? You with me? Okay, so when you do the ER agreement, there's extra lines. Make sure you put in there that the contract date will be the day we go live on the MLS. So when you put it in the MLS, you don't look at the ER date, you just put it as today's date. Because if not, if you put the contract date, the MLS is gonna count those 20 days as days on market.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, I'm so far off from that it's like.
I know, but that's why
I'll
you're
deal
here,
with it.
right?
I'll deal with it as I go, when I get closer to there.
Okay, You can always call me and ask me, but that's something you want to be very careful of.
Okay.
Make sure you have the seller book. And you should have a CMA. Obviously, I like Cloud CMA. MLS has one I think is pretty difficult to use. And then any other information you have. The seller book's good because it gives them kind of a breakdown and a flow chart of what's going to happen without you having to explain it all the time. Right? We know, in Jan's experience, they don't refer back to it ever, but at least you can say you provided it, right?
What
So those-
what do you mean the CMA that you're gonna give them?
So I usually do like Cloud CMA, and so basically what I do is, even though I'll do it online so you guys can see, I go into IMAP and I pull my comparables,
Oh, that.
and then I determine what my price is going to be, and then I go into Cloud CMA and use my price in Cloud CMA, and then I edit my listing off of that. Does that make sense?
No.
So when you put your property in on Cloud CMA, it's going to pull up all the properties. Pending, sold, closed, all square footages, all list prices. So if I say, okay, my pitch is going to be for $399 sales price, then when Cloud CMA uploads all those listings, I'll go through and anything at $300, $299, I'm going to take out of there. I want everything within 50,000 to be both ways. Does that make sense? Because then Cloud CMA is going to go, your average expected sales price is $399, and the next page goes, suggested list price $399. It makes it look like you're really on top of what you're doing. If you just give them the blank CMA, it's all over the place. They're going to be like, oh, this house sold for $110,000. I'm like, yes. So you just gotta be careful, because what Cloud CMA does is pulls the number. If you go, give me 30 listings, it starts here and pulls the closest 30 listings. It could be all over the place. So you need to edit that. I still like, and I always, keep in mind, I always like to consider, I know it's hard to read. Your list prices should always fall in the 25,000 word increments. If your CMA says 310, I would list at 324. Because guess what? Everybody looking at 310 is looking at 325. The worst price is like 329. Because you're missing everybody 325 and under, you might as well be somewhere in the 30s at that point. Does that make sense? I have a listing right now. I told them, all the comps came in at 300. I said 324 is our price. Sage. First weekend, 2 offers, 323, 325. We're listed at 349. I'm like, wow, you want to be at 349, I want to be at 325, and both our offers came in right at 325. We turned them both down. We're still on the market. We just lowered it again. And we got an offer yesterday for 315. So I'm like, you're killing me. The days on market, people are now trying to gouge you because we've been in the market too long. When you really know what the price is, you gotta kind of stand your ground. But I wanted him to kind of go out there and find out the hard way, so it's his loss. But we'll sell it. We're just gonna sell it around 325. We kind of did not go over this enough, but you should discuss. Obviously, we did discuss the interior design, the project management, the staging, the photos. And then once we have the photos, Bert has a program that creates a little video. So we do a video, but we don't shoot an additional
So when the
material.
board used to come out, we don't do that anymore?
Not right now. Because the post-production is way too hard, too slow. So the program we're using now is working just fine. And it basically does the same thing. So one thing to talk to them about, this is a conversation you need to know and have right up front. Some people, are going to want a lot of open houses. You need to know that now, because you know what you're getting into. We have agents that will do open houses a lot. So if you ever need an open house, I had a listing, I said, hey, do you know a house? I had 3. You and Nancy and Anita all volunteered to do it. So people will sit open houses. It's a good way to generate business. The things sellers need to understand is open houses do not sell houses. They really don't. They attract buyers. That's what it does. And that's your opportunity. Greg G built his career off open houses the first couple of years. So if they want them, that's great, but you need to set the expectation, right? You don't do open houses every weekend. Every 3 weeks is reasonable, right? Open houses are gonna attract the neighbors first and foremost. Really, that's it. And I have another class on what you do for open houses, so. I just know a lot of times people are like, oh, what about open houses? And I tell them, I said, it's up to you. I said, if you want open houses, we'll do them. So I'm not gonna promise you anything good or bad off of them, but you can do them. Like I said, if you have a vacant listing, you cannot let an agent do an open house. Right? If you have a listing that's vacant, and Jay's like, hey, I want to sit it open, I can't foresee a reason why you can say no. I won't let you. Unless you're like, the owner specifically said no open houses, that's fine. But if you're like, no, I don't want people to sit in my open house, then you better be sitting it. And if you're not sitting it, then anybody can sit it, right? We haven't had that problem. We've had that problem a little bit, but I think we got that behind us. So, yeah, if you have that listing and it's just sitting there and somebody wants to do an open house, let them. It looks good for you. You're like, hey, one of my agents in my office is gonna do an open house this weekend. People really don't care, unless you have one of my clients. Anybody ever do open house at Cali? You did.
Yeah.
You did. Did she ever
Yeah.
call you?
No.
Did she ever call you? I stopped that right away. First time Greg G did an open house, and she's like, well, what's his number? And I gave her a number, and he's like, when? I'm like, I don't know, probably like 11 to 2. Well, he decided he wanted noon to 3. She called 11:30, how come you're not at the house? He's like, who is this? Yeah, I called him, like, don't ever freaking do that again. And then after that, I didn't give her anybody's information. I was like, no. Okay, any questions? That's pretty much it.
You finally sold that, right?
I did, thank goodness.
Did they lower the price?
A little bit. We redid the flooring. That was the key. We got rid of all that crappy laminate and we did tile. Okay, any other questions? Anything I might have missed? That's pretty much it. And then I'll do the rest of the other half on GoToMeeting so we can record it and I can show you online. Cool?